Had he really wanted to return the magic Xanth? He had so conveniently forgotten its uglier aspect. Magic had as much evil as good. Maybe Mundania would really have been better. Fools! The harpy cried, seeing Bink loose. He's getting away! But the monsters were now enmeshed in their own struggle and paid her no attention. No doubt the winner would feast on the loser, and Bink would be superfluous. She darted down at Bink, forgetting all caution, but he was on his feet now and able to fight. He reached up and caught her by one wing, trying to get his hands around her scrawny throat. He would gladly have strangled her, in a sense strangling all the meanness of Xanth, but she squawked and fluttered so violently that all he got was a handful of gummy feathers. Bink took advantage of his luck and ran away from the fray. The harpy fluttered after him for a moment, screeching such hideously foul insults that his ears burned, but soon gave up. She had no chance of overcoming him by herself. Harpies were basically carrion feeders and thieves, not hunters. It was their fashion to snatch food from the mouths of others. There was now no sign of the other creatures that had rustled and scraped towards him. They too were predators, only of the helpless. Where was Fanchon? Why hadn't she come to help him? She surely must have heard his cries for help, if she still lived. There was no way she could have been unaware of the recent fracas, so this must mean no. She had to be somewhere, maybe down by the sea, catching fish out of hearing. She had been invaluable during the past 2 days, and unswervingly loyal to the welfare of Xanth. Without her, he could never have escaped the power of the evil magician, for intelligence and personality she had it all over the other girls he met. Too bad she wasn't. He saw her resting against a tree. Fanchon, Fanchon, he cried gladly. Hello, Bing, she said. Now his worry and speculation translated into ire. Didn't you see me being attacked by those monsters? Didn't you hear? I heard, she said quietly. Bing was baffled and resentful. Why didn't you help me? You could have at least grabbed a stick or thrown rocks. I was almost eaten alive. I'm sorry, she said. He took another step towards her. You're sorry? You just rested here doing nothing and... He cut off, losing the words to continue. Maybe if you moved me from the tree, she said. I'll dump you in the sea, he cried. He strode up to her, leaned over to grab her roughly by the arm, and felt a sudden wash of weakness. Now he understood. The tree had put a lethargy spell on her, and was starting in on him. As with the carnivorous grass, it took time to take full effect, and she must have settled here to sleep, as careless in her fatigue as he had been, and was now far gone. There was no actual discomfort to alert potential prey, just a slow, insidious draining of vitality, of strength and will, until it all was gone. Very similar to the grass, actually, only this was less tangible. He fought it off. He squatted beside her, sliding his arms under her back and legs. He really wasn't too weak yet if he acted fast. He started to lift her and discovered that his squatting posture had given him a false sense of well-being. He could not raise her up. In fact, he wasn't sure he could stand alone. He just wanted to lie down and rest for a moment. No, that would be the end. He dared not yield to it. Sorry I yelled at you, he said. I didn't realize what you were in. That's all right, Bing. Take it easy. She closed her eyes. He let go of her and backed away on his hands and knees. Goodbye, she said listlessly, reopening one eye. She was almost done for. He took hold of her feet and pulled. Another surge of weakness came, making the job seem impossible. It was as much emotional as physical. There was no way he could haul her weight. He tried anyways, his stubbornness prevailing over even this magic, but he failed. She was too heavy for him. She was too heavy for him here. He backed farther away, and as he left the environs of the tree, his energy and will returned. But now she was beyond his reach. He stood up and took another step towards her, and lost his strength again, so that he fell to the ground. He would never make it this way. He would never make it this way. Again he hauled himself back, sweating with the effort of concentration. Were he less stubborn, he would not have gotten this far. I can't get you out, and I'm only wasting time, he said apologetically. Maybe I can loop you with a rope. But there was no rope. He walked along the trees of the edge of the jungle and spied a dangling vine. That would do nicely if he could get it loose. He grabbed it with one hand and screamed. The thing writhed in his grasp and looped around his wrist, imprisoning it. More vines dropped from the tree, swinging towards him. This was a land kraken, a variant of the tangle tree. He was still being fatally careless, walking directly into traps that should never have fooled him. Bink dropped, yanking on the vine with his full weight. It stretched to accommodate him, twining more tightly around his arm. But now he spied a pointed bit of bone on the ground, remnant of prior prey. He swept it up with his free hand and poked at the vine with it, puncturing it. Thick orange sap welled out. The whole tree shivered. There was a high keening of pain. Reluctantly, the vine loosened, and he drew his arm free. Another close call. He ran on down the beach, searching for whatever would help him. Maybe a sharp-edged stone to cut off a vine. No, the other vines would get him. Give up that idea. Maybe a long pole? No, similar problem. This peaceful-seeming beach was a morass of danger, really coming alive. Anything and everything was suspect. Then he saw a human body. Trent, sitting cross-legged on the sand, looking at something. It seemed to be a colorful gourd. Maybe he was eating it. Bing paused. Trent could kill him. Trent could help him. The magician could change the fatigue tree into a salamander and kill it, or at least render it harmless. But Trent himself was a greater long-term threat than the tree. Which should he choose? Well, he would try to negotiate. The known evil of the tree might not be as bad as the uncertain evil of the magician, but it was more immediate. Trent, he said hesitantly. The man paid him no attention. He continued to stare at his gourd. He did not actually seem to be eating it. What, then, was its fascination? Bing hesitated to provoke the man, but he did not know how long he could afford to wait. Fanchon was slowly dying. At what point would she be too far gone to be revived, even as At what point would she be too far gone to be revived, even if rescued from the tree? Some risk had to be taken. Magician Trent, he said more firmly, I think we should extend the truce. Fanchon is caught and... He stopped, for the man was still ignoring him. Bing's fear of the magician began to change, much as had his attitude towards Fanchon. When he thought she was malingering. It was as if the charge of emotion had to be spent one way or another, whatever the cost. Listen, she's in trouble, he snapped. Are you going to help or aren't you? Still, Trent paid no attention. Bing, still weary from the rigors of the night and unnerved by his recent experiences, suffered a lapse of sanity. Damn it, answer me, he cried, knocking the gourd from the magician's hand. The thing flew 6 feet, landing in the sand and rolling. Trent looked up. There was no sign of anger in his countenance, just mild surprise. Hello, Bing, he said. What is your concern? My concern, Bing said. I told you 3 times. Trent looked at him, puzzled. I did not hear you, the magician paused thoughtfully. In fact, I did not see you arrive. I must have been sleeping, though I had not intended to. You were sitting here looking at the gourd, Bing said hotly. Now I remember. I saw it lying on the beach and it looked intriguing. He broke off, glancing at his shadow. By the sun, that was an hour ago. Where did the time go? Bing realized that something was amiss. He went to pick up the gourd. Hold, Trent barked. That's hypnotic. Bing stopped in place. What? Hypnotic. That's a mundane term, meaning it puts you into a trance, a waking sleep. It usually takes some time to do, but of course a magic spell hypnosis can be instant. Don't look too closely at the gourd. Its pretty colors must be intended to attract the eye. Then it has, yes, I remember now, a peephole. A single glance into its fascinating innards becomes eternal. Very nice device. But what's the point, Bing said, averting his gaze. I mean, a gourd couldn't eat a man. But the gourd vine might, Trent ported out. Or it may be that a quiescent living body might be excellent food for its seeds to grow on. There are wasps in Mundania that sting other creatures, stunning them, and lay their eggs in their bodies. We can be sure it makes some sort of sense. Still, Bing was bemused. How is it that you, a magician... Magicians are human too, Bing. We eat, sleep, love, hate, and err. I am as vulnerable to magic as you are. I merely have a more potent weapon with which to protect myself. If I wanted to be entirely secure, I would lock myself within a stone castle, like my friend Humphrey. My chances of survival in this wilderness will be greatly enhanced by the presence of 1 or 2 alert, loyal companions. This is why I propose the extension of our truce, and I still feel it is a good idea. It is apparent that I need help, even if you don't. He looked at Bing. Why did you help me just now? Bink was ashamed to admit the accidental nature of the assistance. I think we should extend the truce. Excellent. Does Fanchon agree? She needs help now. She is enthralled to a lethargy tree. Oh, then I shall repay your favor by rescuing the damsel. Then we shall talk of truth. Then we shall talk of truce. And Trent jumped up. On the way up the beach, Bing pointed out the vine tree, and Trent whipped out his sword and neatly lopped off a length of vine. Again, Bink was reminded of the skill this man had with his physical weapon. If Trent's magic were taken away entirely, he would still be dangerous. In fact, he had risen to the generalship of an army in Mundania. The vine twisted into shuddering convulsions like a dying serpent, oozing orange sap from the end, but it was now harmless. The tree keened again, cowed. Bink almost felt sorry for it. They took this vine to Fanchon, looped it about her foot, and hauled her unceremoniously away from the tree. So simple with the right equipment. Now, Trent said briskly as Fanchon slowly recovered her vital energy, I propose an extended truce between us until we three escape the wilderness of Xanth. We seem to have problems separately. This time, Fanchon acquiesced.